review of all the evidence, I conclude that the fatal shooting of Salvador Perez Garcia by Sioux City police officers was legally justified.
We begin tonight with the latest on an officer-involved shooting that happened in January inside the parking garage at the Hard Rock Hotel and Casino. Good evening and thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Katie Koppel. Jessica Bowman on assignment tonight. In the early morning hours of January 8th, Sioux City police were called to the parking garage at the Hard Rock Hotel and Casino after a man had rammed two police SUVs with his pickup truck. This was the scene the morning of January 8th, 2024, where investigators were on the scene of a fatal officer-involved shooting. The man, identified as 55-year-old Salvador Perez Garcia, would not comply with officer requests and was armed. Officers were forced to act, shooting and killing Perez Garcia. In a news conference just hours ago, Woodbury County Attorney James Loomis announced that the investigation into the fatal shooting of Salvador Perez Garcia by police was justified. Police say Perez Garcia had been banned from casino property since June of 2023 for repeated thefts. Police say on January 8th, when he entered the parking ramp, which is considered casino property, he was, quote, trespassing. Let's take you through that early morning when officers responded. Perez Garcia had spent several hours in and out of the parking ramp that morning. At 2:42 a.m., Perez Garcia returned to the Hard Rock Casino ramp after leaving for a few minutes. At 3 a.m., Perez Garcia rammed into a glass elevator door repeatedly on the second floor of the garage. 1 minute later, he went up to the third level, driving up and down the parking ramp. At 3:41 a.m., Sioux City police officer is parked on the second level on a routine patrol. Garcia, at then 3:52 a.m., threw papers out of his truck before driving down the ramp and ramming into that officer's vehicle. Now, authorities have released security footage and video from the officer's body and car cameras. We want to warn you, what you are about to see can be graphic. We begin with the moment that Perez Garcia rammed his pickup into the officer's SUV parked in the parking ramp.
I'm three. I've got a vehicle just rammed into the second story of the Hard Rock. 10-4. Pardon me, cover, code 3, second story. 10-4 and 5. 10-4, code 3.
Here in this video, you can see Perez Garcia striking the first officer's vehicle with his pickup. Police say this collision deployed the airbags in both vehicles and disabled the officer's SUV and pushed it into a wall. This video also shows Perez Garcia earlier in the night addressing security cameras inside the parking ramp and smoking what police say is believed to be meth. Then at 3:56 that morning, Perez Garcia drove down the parking ramp, intentionally colliding head-on with the responding officer's SUV. In the video, which you will see here momentarily, you can hear officers asking Perez Garcia to drop his weapon, and then him attacking officers with the weapon he had in his hand. It is here where officers opened fire, killing Perez Garcia. County Attorney James Loomis stated that Perez Garcia believed police were corrupt.
It is clear that the officer did not know that Mr. Perez Garcia is there, but that Mr. Perez Garcia knew the officer was there. At 3:52 a.m. and over the next few minutes, Mr. Perez Garcia threw papers out of the driver's side and passenger side windows of his pickup truck. These papers, written in Spanish, reference how the police are, quote, corrupt, and that the casino is, quote, culpable. It should be noted that written on Mr. Perez Garcia's steering wheel to his pickup truck was, quote, police are corrupt.
Perez Garcia was known to officers and had been the suspect in a SWAT-related call in October of 2022. Sioux City Police Chief Rex Mueller said this afternoon that Perez Garcia targeted officers that night.
Make no mistake, this was a deliberate and premeditated ambush on officers. The investigation by the DCI and our own internal investigation revealed that the suspect had a documented contempt for law enforcement. The night of the shooting, he was actively seeking the attention of law enforcement to force a confrontation.
Chief Mueller today commending his officer's quick response to a fellow officer in need. Mueller also stated the timeline events from when the responding officers arrived at the parking garage to when Perez Garcia attacked officers and officers responded lasted just seconds.
Final attack on officers, as County Attorney Loomis mentioned, occurred in under 17 seconds, with officers giving repeated commands and attempting to go hands-on as he accessed his weapon. All investigations concluded that the actions of the officers were reasonable and justified.
The officers following the shooting were placed on administrative leave during the investigation. Those officers, Chief Mueller stated, have returned to duty. The report on the shooting at a later date.